Most banks want to see you at under 30% utilization. And even for better terms, let's say for interest rates and things of that nature, you want to be at under that by a lot. So most people will tell you 20%. I'm going to be straight up 100 with you and tell you try to get it under 10%. Because here's the thing. Hola, mi gente. Joe Barreto back with you on 850 Club Credit. I'm so glad you can join me. Well, mi gente, some of the most difficult and uncomfortable conversations I have with clients and subscribers in this credit card space is when it comes to applying and being denied for a card, even if your credit score is 750 or higher. And I'm not even going to exaggerate. I'm going to show you proof. This is as of June 22nd. This is my FICO score, 844. And yes, I've been denied. So today I'm going to tell you why I've been denied, why you might be denied in certain situations, what to look for, what to avoid so that you don't get denied even if your score is high. So I'm going to ask you to please forgive me as I go up and down and I check my notes. But first things first, your credit history. You want to make sure you have a lengthy credit history. And what I mean by that is this. If you opened up your first card, let's say January 2025, and as I go to record this is June 24th, 2025, 6 months ago, you might be denied for another card because 6 months is really not a history, okay? They're looking for people that have had loans, student loans. That's why people, when they're like, oh, I don't want to take out a student loan. When you're 17 and 18 and took out a student loan, that helps prepare you and set up a credit history when you graduate at 21. So that all counts towards your credit history, okay? So that's important when it comes to applying for a card and then possibly getting denied is if your credit history is too short. You want to make sure that when you apply for your second and third card or even other mortgages and other things of that nature, that your credit history is long and strong, okay? Next, the debt to income ratio. If you're making $50,000 a year, but you owe $40,000 a year in credit, how are you living, right? How are you paying the rent, the mortgage, your car payment, insurance, you name it, groceries, whatever? That's going to make it difficult for a card issuer to say, hey, you know what, we're going to take a shot on you and we're going to give you a card, even with your high score, but your debt to income ratio is not looking all that great. So this is one of the reasons why they might deny you even with that high of a credit score. So here at 850 Club Credit, mi gente, we're always trying to find out new ways to help you stay on top of your credit and finances. So if you're ready to finally organize your credit cards and payments all in one place, download our free credit card tracker. It's a simple Google Sheet that helps you manage up to 15 cards, track your payments, and stay on top of your finances. All you need to do is just scan the QR code or check the description box below for instant access. The next one kind of ties in with the debt to income ratio, which is your credit utilization rate. Now, what is that? That is said a lot in this space, but I'm going to put it in as simple as terms as how I understood it best, because I was always confused as well, saying, what the heck is this? I'm going to put it in just easy terms. If, let's say, you have a $10,000 credit line across your cards and you owe $1,000, you have a 10% utilization. So you're literally using 10% of the credit that has been given to you or offered to you. So that's your credit utilization. Most banks want to see you at under 30% utilization. And even for better terms, let's say for interest rates and things of that nature, you want to be at under that by a lot. So most people will tell you 20%. I'm going to be straight up 100 with you and tell you try to get it under 10%. Because here's the thing. You want to apply for more credit. You want that new credit card. You want to buy a car. You want to go on that trip. You know, different things are going to come up. But if you're stuck on that $10,000 line that they gave you as credit and you keep increasing, now you're at $20,000 that you owe. That's 20% utilization, 30%, and so on. The higher you go up that chain, the worse it's going to be for you to get approved for the next card. Okay. So how can you combat that? And this is for a whole other video, but I'm going to give you a little surprise tip here for you guys. All right. The way to combat that, to be honest with you, if you can manage it, is if you get approved for another card that has a higher limit and one that reports to the credit agencies. Let's say now they give you another $10,000. Now you have $20,000 in credit limit. And if you only use $1,000, you're at 5%. Get what I'm saying? So the more you have available to you and the less you use is to your benefit. You never want to go upside down and show those numbers go up, because you'll never get approved and they're going to deny you even for credit line increases. Okay. Next thing is this, and believe it or not, for the young people out there that might be watching this, at age 21, that's when a lot of people are really getting on their feet and starting to go out into the world and working and making money. You know, you could apply and get a starter card. That's why a lot of people have like these beginner cards and student cards and things of that nature, a secured card, because it helps to establish that history so that when you apply, it's there. The thing is, when you're young, they're going to say, okay, you have a high credit score, but it could have been because you were an authorized user on somebody's card. And for example, I did that to my son when he was studying at the University of Pittsburgh. He was an authorized user on my card. So when he graduated in 2022, he had a 740 credit score based off of basically my income and my credit history. Okay. But when he applied for his card, he got a low limit, but it was for the Apple card. And, you know, they took into account because it was geared more for people at that age. So age is going to play a factor also in depending on what card you're applying for. You don't want to be 19 and then saying, hey, I'm going to go get that Chase Sapphire Reserve. You can, and there are people that get it, and I'm going to have people tell me, oh, I know this guy. Fair enough. But the reality is you want to make sure you're in the best position. So again, age might play a factor. Now, the last thing is this, and this is going to also kind of overlap with Chase in particular, their 524 rule, and other banks that have rules such as 2 and 90, which means you can apply for 2 credit cards in 90 days for them. Basis, if you opened up 5 credit cards in the last 2 years from any issuer, not just Chase, you will be denied that credit card application. Okay. So you have to really take into consideration just how many recent applications you've done, and not just for credit cards, guys. If you applied for a car loan, if you applied for a mortgage, if you applied to get an apartment for rent. So if you know that, for instance, if those things are coming down, those important life decisions of a mortgage and rent and a car and all this other stuff, don't apply for any credit cards at least 6 months before, you know, because you're really going to shoot yourself in the foot. They're going to see it as somebody that doesn't have the means by paying off this credit, and they're just desperate hunting for credit. Okay. So you want to make sure that you haven't opened up as many cards or have other inquiries on your credit report when you apply for a card. So for instance, going back to my score at 844, and I share this, guys, with you because I'm always just transparent. I have 28 credit cards, but my utilization I have $290,000 in credit available is at 6%. And most of that is because I had work done on the house. So I had to use credit lines and things of that nature. So, you know, even me right now, Capital One won't approve me for a card for excellent credit, even with that credit score. So I'm not even going to talk about Chase. I'm talking about Capital One with my credit score will only give me a credit card for good credit, which comes in with a very high annual rate for interest and a low credit limit. So, you know, you want to make sure, again, when you're applying for these cards, and if you get denied, it might be one of these reasons. And the last thing I'm going to tell you is this: you have the right that if you get denied, to get it in writing from the credit card issuer. Now, Chase in particular has what they call a reconsideration line. So you could always call up Chase and they can tell you what their reasons are over the phone, but then they're going to tell you in 7 to 10 days you're going to get a letter. And on the letter, when you flip to the back of it, it'll explain to you probably something of the effect of too many recent inquiries, too many revolving accounts, high utilization. Those are the things that I just mentioned here. So even if you have a higher credit score, and normally people that have a high credit score and still get denied, it's because of recent activity, going on in their credit accounts. Okay. So if you're 21 and you're applying for a number of cards, that credit score is not going to be 750 or 730 or even maybe 700. So again, it's a lot of things going into this, but somebody at 750 and above and you're still getting denied, it is probably due to the utilization and the other issues that I mentioned here before. So as always, mi gente, do me a favor, leave me a comment below and let me know if you've been denied for a card application having a 750 score or higher, and what issuer it was and what you did, and if you called to find out about it. And, if you have any comments on this video at all, do me a favor, drop me a line. I appreciate it. So mi gente, as always, you could be anywhere else. You chose to be here, but more than anything else, I thank you for giving me the privilege of your time. Until next time, mi gente, take care.